All right, so I posted my Proofecy Protocol 006 A and B already. Uh, what was it? That was like right around 1 and 2 o'clock. Now it's 8:49. Um, I posted them. I watched them. It took a while. I tried to like condense them. I was gonna try to put them together and annotate them and do what I did with like my first three Proofecy Protocol videos. And then I was like, nope, it's gonna take too much time. This isn't a slam dunk. In a sense, I will call my Proofecy Protocol 006 series an F plus. I failed. But it's a failure. When I was in high school, a D minus was 69. An F was a 68 out of 100. Then when I went to college, it changed. They scaled it down. An F was 60. Mm-hmm. I could talk about that for hours, but so this particular F plus I would call a 68.4 repeating F plus. The addition, if it were truly repeating, if it were truly a 68.4 repeating, like to infinity, it would only take the addition of an infinitesimal to make it a D minus pass. But if that 68.4 repeating was truncated at any point and stopped before it got to infinity, it could never be a D minus pass. Anyway, a couple points I wanted to bring up, like my protocol failed. And one of the ways that my protocol failed is that my video turned off. So there's no way to know that I didn't make my second video before my first video, right? Like, because it's important to me to do this. I already know that it's real, that it works, that it happens, that there's a pattern to it. One of my failures is that I don't engage or practice it more. Um, Perhaps I don't take it seriously enough. Perhaps the way in which I use it as I've made these videos is too pragmatic or too sterile. Though I hope that the rest of my content speaks to the way in which it's not. But because I have like 20 gigabytes worth of compressed video unposted, like it's clogging up my system, just like my system is clogged up with detritus, just like my biological system, my body is clogged up with detritus from the way I live my life, you know. Yet even in that darkness, the light finds a way. That's part of the story. It's super important. So this 006 series is pretty much for the scholastics. If you're not familiar with the material, there's nothing for you here. If you are, and you might be the only one, and maybe there is. And maybe the reason why there is something for you here is because you are my better. Maybe it's because I'm the Chester Copperpot to your Mikey from Goonies. Maybe it's because you succeed where I fail, and I would be happy for that. Anyway, there's a couple things. because I was describing my peering as it was coming to me. I was sitting back over here looking down at my bag. Everything was dark. Though I was glad to see in the video, in the 006A, I was glad to see in the video that like you could discern me. So I thought to myself, well, when I re-edit it, I'll I'll tweak the I'll tweak the values, and I'll increase the brightness and increase the contrast, and you can see me. But I'll leave that for you if you care to. Again, it's for the quote unquote to come scholastics, Though I wouldn't even suggest doing that, because if I don't in time to come hit a home run, none of this shit matters. If I hit a home run in the time to come, basically a lot of this shit don't matter, except for very specific cases, aka people. We all hear the parable, the story, the anecdote of Edison and his 1,000 tries to get the light bulb. That's part of the reason why I first numbered my Proofecy Protocol with the 001, because there's 999. So it might take a while. But if I invent that light bulb, boom, a lot of this shit don't matter except to specialists. So this one is for you, specialists. But anyway, a few things I did want to comment on, which in my mind I've already like made the video and like made the clips and like circled upon certain things. So I guess I'll take it point by point as much as I can. There certainly was the finger thing. There were and I didn't comment on it, and I'm not doing what I did with my 001 through 003 where I like paused it and slowed it down. I'll leave that up to you. So if you're familiar with the 001 through the 003, you see what I did, and you can kind of see it there. And I'm not, like I said, I failed, but it's not a zero failure. It's kind of like if you're in a class in college where like, I don't know how it's split up, but say like the midterm is worth 1/8 of the grade. Say you have homework every day of the class, and the midterm is worth 1/8 of the grade, and the final is worth 1/4 of the grade. So the midterm plus the final is 3/8 of the grade, and all of the homework is worth 5/8 of the grade. Or you could flip it. But then you're in a case where like if you got 100% on all your homework and a 0 on your midterm and your final, you fail at 62.5. And if you don't do any homework, but you get 100% on your midterm and final, you get a 37.5. Right? They're both failing, but it depends how you weight each test. And yet both of those failures are a kind of success. So what I'm saying about this series of videos is I failed. But I'm saying there's still something there. It's still above random. It's like, well, if you got all your homework completely right, how well would you wouldn't have to do very well. You'd have to get above a 0. You wouldn't have to do very well on your midterm and final, but pretty well. But if you got 100% on your final, you'd have to do quite a bit better on your homework to pass, to get that D-. Right? And once again, 68.4 repeating. If it truly repeats, if it's a 68.4 bar true, then all you need is an infinitesimal, which is a dimensionless point that barely moves at all. And all of a sudden, you go from F plus to D-. Is F plus a thing? Now it is. Sorry, I'm not speaking to myself there. I'm speaking to something else. But yeah, okay, so I spoke to the hands, and there was certainly a making. There was the feeling of the grain when I spoke about braiding. I hope when I showed the braiding, it looked quite a bit like I was thinking cornrows when I was talking about that braiding. That's why I wasn't going like this. That's why I was going like this when I said the word braiding. Now I understand I'm speaking after the fact. I have to find better means of the protocol, the, the means before the process to describe what's happening to nail it, you know? But I'm also trying to explain and save you the effort of trying to decode. I'm being as honest as possible. I don't want you to believe this video. What I want to do is hit the home fucking run. And after I hit that first home run, I want to be able to hit home run after home run after home run. Now, yeah, part of it's like, yeah, I want this for me. Yeah, I want this thing. Yeah. But part of it's because no one else is doing it. And there are people who can. There are reasons why they don't. Am I going to get into that? I'll get into it a little bit. That's part of the reason why now is the revelation, is because in order for people to have learned things before that we can learn on our phone or with our own thought, like, and disseminate the knowledge, like you used to have to like be involved with writing a book by hand, copying books by hand. You'd have to be engaged with scribes, with priesthoods, with societies, private, public, secret. You'd have to take oaths if you really got into some deep shit. The reason why the oaths were taken then was to protect the knowledge so that it could be decimated at on ENMASSE. Is that the right thing? En masse, except on as EN, en masse. Like it had to be disseminated en masse. Like the reason why people took oaths, the good ones, people took bad oaths too. And a lot of people are quite familiar with that. But people took good oaths to protect this knowledge and develop it. Hold it, develop it, know it, come to know it. In the past, before the revelation. Now is the revelation. Why? Because it can be. The revelation couldn't have happened before this fucking phone. Before that. Before all this Wi-Fi shit, cell phone towers, all that. Before that, the revelation couldn't have happened. So the secrets had to be held. And to gain this type of knowledge, we would have had to take oaths. We would have had to ingratiate ourselves to brotherhoods, sisterhoods, sewing circles, libraries, where this information was held. That's not the case anymore. I never took an oath. So one of the reasons why I say things that other people don't say is because I never took an oath of secrecy. I never took an oath of secrecy. The only pseudo oath I ever took was when I kneeled on my floor down there back in approximately 2015, crying naked, decimated, that I will protect innocence. Even in my uninnocence, yet innocence is within me. So that oath of protecting innocence, what's that mean? It means protecting that little fucking thing I can't even get to in me that's still fucking there. Sometimes it pops its head out. I hope and pray for the day when it consumes me. I hope I get there. And the other innocence is, man, historically, women and children. And especially today, man. And that's the thing with everything going on in the world. And I don't want to be against it because it's a good thing. Like, a lot of the protests and uprising is really good on the far left and the far right. Like, it's really good that people are willing to put their lives in jeopardy to speak for their beliefs of the truth. My concern is that even today, and this is a big thing, man, even today, the most subjugated women and children are still around the globe are still the most subjugated. It's been that way for 10,000 fucking years plus. And what's crazy to me is that women and children are so subjugated that even today, as a mass movement, trans people, who I wish every freedom for, or I shouldn't say every, much. The pharmaceutical component is of, if we're not questioning the pharmaceutical component, we're in grave error. But just the fact that the movement has went black and trans, gay, bi, so like you have, and it's good, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is that women as a class and children as a class are still the most subjugated folk. And because the popular rise of black and brown, and it's good, don't get me wrong, I'm just saying, we're creating these artificial divisions. Meanwhile, like, no matter what your skin color is, there are DNA. If you take DNA from white people and black people, there are more. If you, I guess what I'm saying is, like, the actual DNA of the actual quote unquote genetic races has nothing to do with skin color. You can take people from all different skin colors and take their DNA, and like, you could have 3 black people and 3 white people, so to speak, and take their DNA and find out, like, these white people are more different from each other and these black people are more different from each other. Meanwhile, this black person and this white person and this black person and this white person and this black person and this white person are more genetically similar. They're more of a race. Like, race doesn't have anything to do with color. I shouldn't say anything, but like, major problem, and it's completely 100% locked down scientific. And it's been that way for years. This isn't a new thing. I learned it in fucking high school. I barely remember anything about biology because I always had biology. I had biology, my first year of biology, my second year of biology, and they were both after lunch. And I sat in the back of the class. And I was like, after I ate my French bread, pizzas, and tater tots with mayo and ketchup, you know? But I remembered that. It's one of the few things that stuck. But like, still today, the most subjugated group are women and children. So and I'm not trying to say anything bad about, like, you know, gay, lesbian, trans, all that kind of thing. I'm not trying to say anything bad. I'm just saying, like, where would you be without your mom and dad? You wouldn't be here. Where would you be without your mom, and where would you be if you'd never been a child? And like, that great uprising is great, but at the extreme, your demands have gone too far because you've superseded that which comes before you. which is flat out the fucking women and children. Right? Anyway, that was too much of a tangent. Well, it needs to be said. It needs to be said, man. Women and children are still the most subjugated. If you cut off your dick and take hormones, you are currently being more represented than a flat out, natural born woman, like the one that bore you between her legs. We should think about that. Anyway, and it's not to say like I'm super right on anything, because I'm for abortion, but the number one reason I'm for abortion is because abortion is the only thing that saves adolescent girls from being murdered by the men who rape them. You can do the math on that yourself. And that's not to say that I'm like some like, oh, holy roller, or like I'm so super perfect and I have the right to say that. It's not to say that I'm not like a total pervert. It's not to say that like when I was 13 I wasn't lusting after women, and that now as an old man I don't remember that. Right? It's complicated. But anyway, it's complicated, but it need not be, necessarily. It might get worse before it gets better. But we have to be honest, and it's going to be fucking ugly. Butchery is the problem, and it's going to get fucking ugly to love so much that we kill butchery itself. Because as soon as we succeed, butchery will rear its ugly head. But there's no hope for butchery. Butchery will die. Period. Butchery will die. End of story. It's gonna happen. It's just if it takes us with it. That's it. That's the only question. Butchery's gonna die. It's antithetical to every reason. Well, not every good reason. Butchery will die. And the only question is if we die with it or not. Butchery will die from suffocation. At the point when it butchers all of us and we are no longer, and there's nothing left for it to butcher. Or butchery will die at our hands, at our men, at our hands, at our men, at our minds. Such that we kill a bad, false idea. There is such a thing as a false idea. They run rampant on the world. Butchery will die by suffocation, so to speak, starvation, once it has butchered all of us, or butchery will die at our mind when we kill it as an idea, and the beauty after. That is practically inconceivable. There's nothing else to work for. There's no solution that supersedes the death of butchery. Anyway. God, I always get off the point. I hadn't drank. I know I sounded drunk in my other videos, but I didn't drink nothing. I did what I said I did. I drank a seltzer. But in the preceding hours, I drank almost a bottle of wine and a beer and a half. I have a wicked bad problem. Anyway. So I talked about the profile. I'll do another video where I speak about that a little more. And again, this is just for the scholastics, so to speak. People deep in the study who need more and who understand. So yeah, I'll leave the person I saw in profile with their hand on a desk, so to speak. I'll leave that for another time. Though I will hear reference where I said I saw like what looked like a shoulder and what might be a tank top over a t-shirt. There was the one tank topped person who stood up, but their hand met a flat surface where there was a shoulder, and there were many suspenders and overalls in that short period of time. There was something else too, but I'll get to it in my next video when I draw a picture, the one I should have drawn before because it would have made more sense. So there were the weeble wobbling trees that worked out okay, and the tubular thing. And I tried to say enough while I was in the moment of peering, but there was like more than I saw, and I was just like tubular, perspective, like a pipe in a hole, you know. But then when all those machines were going and there was like a tube in a tube, like a tube in a hole, there were strong perspectives in the vicinity, worked out pretty good. And then the dancing, and then once again like a these tubular dancing things. And the dancing motions, as it turns out, like the one dude in the, I think he was wearing like black pants and like maybe a white shirt with a black jacket, something like that. And he was kind of all over the place, like full body. That was most specifically the image I saw. Had I drawn it beforehand, it would have been more convincing of an argument. So I failed on the protocol in a lot of ways. Also the reaching over thing. The very last image, it's only like a second, but it's like a person coming down. That was it, but also the couple images before that with like a mother reaching over her child. So it's like when in these peerings, it's almost like vignettes of time often condense upon like a solid image. What else? Yeah, that will be made more clear in my next video. Again, this is just for the scholastics. I know this doesn't make any sense except for people who really get it. And again, why am I saying it? I'm saying it because I never took an oath of secrecy. Those oaths of secrecy, some were nefarious, yes, but many, if not most, were actually benevolent. Because for the people who could and can see through time, there are grave and major consequences. But it's different now. To a degree. It's different now. And I have the benefit. So this isn't me. So like say I do something great, right? I'm not saying I will. The possibility exists that you might think I do something great if you get it. If you don't, you're like, this guy's a fucking shit. And you're right. But like, I couldn't have done any of this without this fucking thing that I'm looking at, my phone. Which is what I look at, I listen to all day, audiobooks, podcasts, YouTube, like all this shit. Making these recordings, so it has nothing to do with me. The only power or authority that I have is that I have a small propensity, very, very small, tiny. I am the least of these things, trust me. And the other thing which gives me a modicum of authority is just that I'm willing to completely embarrass myself up to the point of death. To expose it. Hopefully not as just some crazy lunatic waving this or that flag. But bearing the Boschian T-cross of truth. As dumb, broken, mush-mouthed as I am, being as though I'm here, truth even touches me. And unfortunately, I'm flawed in every which way, except for maybe one or two very, very small points. And I'll leverage them to my best. Yes, for me, but I also know if you don't get there, I don't get there. And I also know that I still might not get there. And if I don't get there, what reason would I have to not want you to get there, you know? Essentially, and if you're not, religious, or if this triggers you in a bad way, just lighten up and be poetic about it. Be poetic about it. Be symbolic about it. To populate heaven. Symbolically, that's like the ultimate. That's the ultimate idea, kind of. To populate heaven. And if you don't believe in God and you don't believe in heaven, I believe in God, but I don't believe in heaven. Yet. Okay then. So then, if we don't believe these things, there's still an ultimate idea. It's not all like, oh, everything is random. No, it's not. If everything was random, some people would have a dick at the end of their fucking finger. But, no, pretty much we all got fingernails. Right? There is an order. And I think we'd find ourselves quite displeased if that order were disrupted randomly. Fluctuations and mutations aren't necessarily random. Another story for another time. And we talk about, like, it's funny that some people, some people, some people. Oh, I'm castigating. How dare you, Jeff? But it's true that like some people in one breath will speak of the Big Bang and an infinite universe at the same time. Or an expansive universe, a universe that's expanding beyond the speed of light. And an infinite universe. And a multiverse. And an infinite multiverse of infinite universes. That doesn't hold water, man. Don't hold water. You are you as you, and you sure the fuck are where and when you are as you as you. Me too. The problem is that the way in which we encapsulate ourselves, the way in which we limit ourselves, the way in which we false identify ourselves. That's the problem. The size of our aura, so to speak. The exact place of the attention point upon our luminous egg. Our position within the world and the world's position within us. Essentially infinite, rationally. It's just a strong hunch. So yeah, do I have anything else about the protocol? I did a bad job. I got to find better ways for the protocol. It would be great if I could get like if I could get a night vision camera so I could keep things really dark and you could still see me, so I could still like, because there was a lot lost in like my hand motions. Also, I'm not going to use advertisements anymore. From now on, when I say the first video, I'm going to skip the ad. Now, I know also ads come up in videos, but also I need to get a way to get to like live events, and like a really great way to do it would be like, depending on the time when I'm doing it, because I don't know, in America, like there's live news at 6 o'clock, and there's like, you know, the 3 major stations who do live, 4, 5 major stations who do live news at 6 o'clock. So say I was going to do a peering event at 6 o'clock, my protocol pre-definition could say, okay, I'm going to do this peering at about 5 o'clock, and at like about 6 o'clock I'm going to do 1 minute on this station, this station, this station, this station, and I could find a way to randomize it. So then if I have this peering kind of similar to the peering I just had, I could be like, you know, somewhere between like a roll of a dice or like a what's it, Boggle, the old board game Boggle, like clicking a thing and having things just find a way to randomly generate a series of whatever. Or I could like have a map of the United States and I could have like a plinko board and drop a penny and have it like land on one of the states, and then find like that state's capital local news station at 6 o'clock and like click on that, like finding ways like like easy random, quote unquote random, you know, ways to come up with the media after I've already had. So it's like have the peering that's going to be dependent on what I choose and what randomity, whatever randomity I can build into the system, and have it like be simple, clear, concise, and like have basically a system, a station, like have a station set up, you know. And I'm really low tech. I don't have cable, you know. I got a phone, I got a tablet. They're, you know, and now I have Sprint. I've had Sprint for years. I've had this phone for years. And I just got a text message today that like I got to switch out to T-Mobile. They said they give me a free 5G phone if I trade in my phone, like $1,000, whatever. Man, I'm gonna use so many gigabytes. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be killing them. When I get me a 5G T-Mobile phone, fucking T-Mobile Sprint stock's gonna plummet. But, so yeah, I have to create a better protocol, because this protocol, this peering wasn't good enough, but it will be good as a piece of reference to the scholastics, so to speak. In time to come, if after my 1,000 tries I can get to a place where I hit home run after home run after home run, but I have to lay the crumbs and create the pathway there, because I don't in any way. I already know I'm at the end of the train. I'm not great. I'm not even good. I'm pretty much a horrible piece of shit. But that nice, innocent, strong, courageous thing is within me still. Small, just barely a seed. But I have an opportunity where others haven't. And those that are among us that are better than me, they're dealing with way bigger fucking shit than this. Trust me. So why aren't they doing it? They've exerted effort, small efforts into me that I've been able to recognize, that empower me to do this. They don't have the time to do this stupid fucking horseshit. Beautiful as it is, in its innocent way. Because they're playing the fucking, they're playing the wizard's chessboard, where real fucking life and death is on the line every fucking day. You can't imagine the scope and the scale that these other folk, I feel embarrassed calling them folk, but the true sage, clairvoyant, Foo Fighter, essentially archangel saints, like what they're actually doing. Married together, like all that alien, god, magic shit, put it into one fucking bundle, and you're kind of creeping up on it. Oh yeah, and leprechauns. And it's funny too that like nobody believes in leprechauns, but like so many people believe in aliens. Which is more rational? Why would leprechauns hide? Because they're small enough to be eaten by birds of prey. Think about it. That's why they're faster. That's why they think faster. That's why they see more. That's why they see above and below. Because they had to always be looking up, watching for that bird of prey. And they always had to be looking down to where to dig their hole, and side to side, for the smaller things that would attack them, that won't attack us as larger. In the multi-million year trend of that smaller humanoid, terrestrial being. The idea of a leprechaun is infinitely more rational than the idea of an alien. So that's basically just a thought experiment challenge. Good luck. Sorry I said it like that, because what I really mean is, good fucking luck, man. And what I really mean is like, good luck. We're gonna kill this fucking idea. This bad idea that's been around from the fucking start. We're gonna kill butchery. And we'll leave no stone unturned. I hope I flipped over a few today. I did for myself. I hope I do for you. Godspeed.